I'm Steve Nelson, a life member of the American Custom Gunmakers Guild. I kind of got into gun making roundabout. I was getting fairly old. In Colorado, they instituted a special deer season for muzzleloaders only. And for some reason, I decided I had to make the gun that I was going to go hunting with. So I rang up Dixie Gun Works and ordered a barrel and a blank of just a plain plank of walnut and a lock and chiseled it out. And it was horrible. I still own the gun, but it was pretty bad. And then after using it for 3 or 4 years, I decided that I needed a centerfire rifle to go to do some serious big game hunting with. And I had heard that Jerry Fisher was teaching a class in Trinidad, Colorado at the time, a summer class. And so I signed up for that and went down to Trinidad and took Jerry's class. And bless his heart, he tried to dissuade me from going into the business. He taught me as much as he could about stock making, but he tried to convince me that it wasn't a good way to make a living. And but I kept saying, well, I can't afford one of your guns, so I'm going to have to make my own. And you know, even until the day he died, one of the last things Jerry said to me the year before he passed away was, "Don't you wish you'd bought one of my guns instead of getting into the business?" But so for better or worse, I've been in it full time since 2002, and I don't know. It's turned out to be a pretty rewarding profession, both emotionally and can be financially. At least keep the wolf away from the door. But I started out doing just about anything I had to, from mounting scopes to mounting recoil pads. And then gradually, as the custom commissions began to take hold, I was able to turn away most of that repair work and begin focusing on just my custom clients. And nowadays, about 75% of my work is restoration on especially old shotguns. Also some old single shots. This is the classic example I'm working on today, which is an old Boswell from probably the early 1900s that was in very sad shape. But the client wanted it back to original. He didn't want it to look new. He wanted as much of the original stock and as much of the original metalwork as possible. And so now that's what I try to provide to them. Yep. But yeah, I often wish I had listened to Jerry, bless his soul, but I did not. And finally, I've pared it down. I have about 6 clients nowadays that I work for, and they keep me pretty well inundated. I'm about 3 years behind on their commissioned work. I do occasionally, one of them or a friend will want a regular Mauser bolt-action sporting rifle. So about once a year, I wind up making a custom project all the way from scratch. In about 2010, I decided that I was having too much trouble getting metalwork done from outside sources. And I started doing my own metalwork, first fitting the barrels and eventually building custom scope mounts. All of the work on the actions to make them usable. And eventually that morphed into my own TIG setup so that I could repair or install bolt handles and do some of the other repairs that I needed to do. And so now I can take a project pretty much from original design and carry it all the way through to the finished product for the client. Everything but the engraving. There's an artistic bent involved in that I'm pretty good with the technical end, but I'm a little leery of trying the artistic side of it. So several times over the years, I've had various people approach me wanting to be an apprentice in the shop, and I've always discouraged them in the past. About a year ago, a young lady in our local community came to me, and she had an old antique that she was trying to work on. and could I help her with it? And I said, well, I certainly would be. And she offered to pay. She wanted to pay me to be my apprentice for a while. And I said, no. I said, I would be happy to teach her how to do anything she needed to do on that. So she is in the process now of setting up her own shop locally. And anytime she has any question regarding restoration on these old guns, she generally calls me. She is stocking up her own, trying to do 2 projects. I'm hoping to have her application into the American Custom Gunmakers Guild probably for the 2024 meeting. I would love to see her get into the guild. That would really make me pleased with what we've done together. But as I say, I've turned some people away over the years who wanted to. For many years, I'm trying to think, 13, 14 years, I edited the Gunmakers Guild newsletter on what were we, 4 times a year at that time. And wound up passing on, quite often I wound up having to put my own material into there, and found a lot of satisfaction passing on the knowledge. I personally, a lot of gun makers will disagree with me. They want to hold their secrets. And I happen to be of the opinion that if we pass out the knowledge, and there's plenty of clients out there, it's not like you're going to lose any business. And it seems ridiculous for new people to have to reinvent the wheel when we've already made the mistakes. So let's pass on that knowledge, keep them from making the same mistakes. We all know that there are plenty to be made out there. You don't have to make the same ones over and over again. And I think what the Gunmakers Guild has done in the way of education and bringing up the level of quality in the field, the guns we're all making now, be they shotguns or rifles, are head and shoulders above what they were 40 years ago when I first got into this field. I've talked with a number of the old original founding members about this, and we're pretty much in agreement. None of us would get into the guild today with the work that we were doing 40 years ago. The expectations among the public have really gone up in 40 years. And I have to say that's mostly thanks to the Gunmakers Guild. Yeah, it really has been. It's kind of like herding cats, or shoveling against the tide, as they say. But we've managed to convince enough of the members that it's become more common now to be able to get them to share their knowledge. And I'm pleased to look out in the community and see that there are other gun makers who are quietly introducing new apprentices and new interns into this. Classic example, I spent 2 weeks in Pete Grissell's shop when he was still alive. 1 week learning some metalworking tips, and another on stockworking tips. Aside from that, every chance I've gotten, I've taken advantage of the NRA summer seminars that used to be so prevalent in the gunsmithing schools. My experience has been with the full-time gunsmithing schools. They can introduce a student to the basics, or a new woodworker into how to make a stock, or a new metalsmith into how to turn metal. But the actual details of what we do, you almost have to be in a working shop with real projects in your hands in order to find those little tips and techniques that keep you from making mistakes. And it really is, although I've had to muddle through a bunch of them all by myself, it really helps if you've got somebody in the background you can call on. And my membership in the Guild gave me the introduction to a number of the professional members that at any given time, if I had a problem, I always felt like I could pick up the phone, call Bob West, Pete Gristle, Tommy Burgess, any of the people. And because I had already shown an interest in the trade and that I was willing to invest my time and money in it, they were almost invariably willing to tell me whatever it was I needed to know to get me through the problem. Yeah, and that's, God bless them. They're not all still with us, but yeah, bless them for doing that.
You really answered all my questions.
Oh, I could, yeah, as most of my friends would tell you, we could sit here and talk like this for hours and hours and hours. It's too bad that we don't have more people show up at the Gunmakers Guild annual convention and have an entire day when we can all sit around. We used to do that at the end of the show. We would take that following Monday after the show was over, and we'd have a number of roundtable discussions or little demonstrations about welding or metalsmithing or stock making tips. But usually the sessions wound up just being discussions among the students who were there, the associate members who were there, and the professionals who were proctoring it. And I really miss that exchange of ideas that we used to have. It's gotten very hard to do that with all of us busy, and the show is there. We're trying to make a living at this too. I would warn new students. A lot of the guys would say, this is a terrible way to make a living. And that might be true. It does take long hours, and it is hard to break into. But there are clients out there, and they're more and more willing to pay whatever the price is required to get the very best work. And I think any student getting into this, you struggle in the beginning, but once you prove that you can do top level work, you won't have any trouble finding customers. They're out there. And nowadays, with our new executive director pushing more and more of this into the social media platform, I think we're reaching a whole new group of potential interested buyers and traders in this trade. And anybody who asks me, I usually say, well, it's not rocket science. You could do this yourself. There are people who maybe don't feel comfortable with it. They would rather make money in the profession that they're really good in. Doctors, lawyers, mechanics. I did a quick mental survey of my own clients a few years ago and realized that I had the whole gamut, all the way from independent CEOs and businessmen who had, a number of businesses and all the money in the world to regular working people. And this custom gun, whatever it was their life's dream. And now they've got it, and maybe they drive an old truck for a couple extra years, but then they figure out a way to afford it. Yeah. But I hate to discourage anybody getting into this just because you're worried about the money aspect. True, in the beginning, it helps if you have something, a line of work that maybe pays for the overhead expenses of staying alive. But like I say, if you do your very, very best work, you will find clients willing to pay for it if you ask them for the right price. I'm trying to channel some of the teachers that I've had and what they might have told me over the years about this profession. I think most people will find that you have a part of this. Maybe it's the metal work, maybe it's the stock work. There are a number of people who feel more comfortable working in wood, and that's fine. A number of the guys have done nothing but stocks, never done any metal work, and have done quite well in the trade. So you know, don't feel like you have to do it all at the very beginning. But I think most people will find as they get into it that the more they do of it, the more they want to learn in it. And for most of us, the ideal is to be able to have that finished product. I did this. I put this together, and that's the satisfaction that we get out of it. So I hope this has helped, and I would hope that this gives guys and gals. My new apprentice is a young lady, 26 years old, so you can start at any point. Yeah. So please don't give up on it. And if anybody, I will say from a personal standpoint, if anybody listening to this has any questions about this, get in touch with me. I'm not accepting any new commissions or new clients myself, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have. I may not know the answers, but I probably know somebody in the business who does know the answers. So feel free to contact me, preferably by email. I'm more likely to answer that or one of the social media platforms so that I don't have to pick up the phone when it rings. And if anybody's in the area of Corvallis, Oregon, and wants to visit the shop, please feel free. Give me a call, make a date, and we'll do it. We'll make it happen. Thank you very much.